What's the deal? My name's Greg, or Manga-G, as I'll be going by over here on YouTube. Welcome to my channel. I'm finally creating a YouTube channel. I've thought about doing this a handful of times throughout the years, but here I am. I want to kind of start this first video off with, or I just want to make this first video really in general, just to kind of explain, you know, the possibility of what I'll be putting on this channel, and also kind of like the inspiration of why I decided to make this channel. And to start off, I'll start off with the inspiration part, and that's real easy, real quick. Really, there's two parts to it. One was DreamCon was this past weekend here in Houston. My first DreamCon event, real fun. I had a blast. I didn't go crazy with I didn't buy premium badges. I didn't meet any of the RDC members or any of the content creators, but that's not what I was there for. I was there just to enjoy the vibes and, you know, see all the support and the different creative minds that, you know, love, you know, anything from gaming to anime to, you know, cartoons to whatever you were there for. It was just fun to see everyone there. I had some fun at some of the panels. Like one of them I went to was how to play D&D, and although I don't see myself really playing that game, at least not anytime soon, it was cool just to experience that and to get an idea of what actually is D&D. I've always heard of it, I just didn't know what that was exactly. And the guys at the panel there were really cool. They were really into D&D, you could tell, and they were very entertainment. So there's a lot of that type of events that were going on this weekend. And again, it's going to be here in Houston next year, so I'm excited to be there again. But yeah, I had a blast, and walking through, seeing all the different vendors and all the different up and coming artists, you know, share their stuff. I, you know, wanted to support them. I bought some items here and there, but it did inspire me. It really did, for me to kind of push through, you know, some of these ideals I have. So that's one piece. The second part of it is honestly, it's because how I'm wired. My brain, I have like so many ideals in my head, and things I want to try out and do, but because it's so much, I have a problem with starting something and then following through with it. So that's really what this channel's for. Like, honestly, I would love if you guys subscribed and liked the videos, and I'm gonna try to remember to put that stuff in my videos, and, you know, share and support. But honestly, this channel is really for me, and kind of like to try to prove to myself that I can attach myself to some of these ideals and push through them and actually, you know, follow through. And so it's kind of really for accountability, if anything else. So I mean, obviously, again, if y'all enjoy the content, if y'all are here for the ride, that's just a plus. But this is really for me just to get started on working out my ideals in my head and having a place to put them so I can see the journey myself and kind of motivate myself to do better. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm kind of into basketball, so I'll see, you know, people like LeBron, or I've heard Kobe say it before and stuff, where they're like, hey, if they're ever like having a bad day, or they had a bad game, or they just didn't feel like they had the energy to practice or to continue playing, they'll go back and look at some of their old highlights or where they started and kind of draw inspiration from that. Or even like rappers, you know, when they have writer's block or something like that, they'll go back and listen to some of their old work or whatever, and just to spark that hunger back. And that's kind of what I want to use these videos as for myself. So that's really the long and short of why I'm creating this channel finally. But just to get into some of the stuff that I have in my head, just so you can see get an idea for some of the videos you may see on here. So obviously, number one is manga in the name of the channel I made. I want to get into manga. I've been into anime since I was in elementary school. You know, I was watching Naruto. That's my number one favorite anime all time. That probably will never change, because it introduced me to anime. Even though while I was watching it at the time in elementary, I didn't realize it was anime or what anime was. That wasn't really a popular thing back when I was younger, which is why I connected with RDC, because those guys are kind of around my age, and they understand. They're also from Texas. They understand like where the world was at that time when we first were getting into anime. So yeah, I didn't know what I was watching back then or whatever, but once I got to like middle school, I started learning what anime actually was and what manga was through that. There were these two kids specifically. I remember for lunchtime we would go, we have our cafeteria area, but we also had an outside courtyard you could go out and eat and run around and stuff. And these two kids, they would run around and Naruto run. And they would have like play fights with each other, and one of them wore I remember they wore ankle weights and everything and all that, super inspired by Rock Lee. And then they will also bring manga, the Naruto manga, different manga books for them. And so they would let me read or look through some of them. And I remember seeing even in the Barnes and Nobles I used to go to, I would see manga there and flip through the pages and think, wow, this is awesome. I see this on the screen, but it's so cool to see it in like comic form. And yeah, so in my head as a kid, I always was like, man, I want to get into manga. The problem was, obviously, as a kid, I didn't have money, and even my situation, I was at home, whatever. We didn't really have that much money to spend like that. So I never asked for things like manga or anything like that because I just felt like it was a waste, and I was like, I wouldn't waste my parents' money for something like that. So I always had in my head that once I got older, I would buy myself manga and get into manga. Well, obviously, I was able to go to DreamCon stuff, whatever. So I have a decent amount of money to spend. And I finally got some Naruto manga. So I bought the Naruto manga set, not the Shippuden set yet. But I will obviously eventually, but it's so cool. Here's one dream coming true, that I've dreamt since I was a kid, that I will be able to buy my own manga and experience it. So I haven't read the manga yet. But obviously I know the storyline of Naruto, but eventually I will obviously read the manga. So that's one thing. That's one interest. Another interest is coding. I went to school for computer science, but I never used it in practice. I was just there to get my degree, and I decided to do computer science. It sounded cool. So there, obviously, I learned some computer science or some coding, but that's going to be a story for another day. But honestly, right now I'm working at an oil and gas company and I do IT work. But I'm looking into transferring over to do a full stack position. And so I already talked to the manager over there, and I'm working on it now to see, how that'll go. But I wanted to jot down my journey for programming, being a better programmer too. And, I've already learned Angular, or, I just recently finished a course on Angular. On Udemy. If y'all haven't heard of udemy.com, y'all should go check that out. It's a great place to learn things. Never buy anything full price from there. Like almost every other week there's like super great discounts on those things. Some courses that'll be $150 something will go down to $15. So just some heads up on that if y'all are into learning things yourselves too. But yeah, I finished the Angular course. First course I actually finished on Udemy. I have like so many courses out there I did not finish because that's how my brain works. But yeah, so I finished that. I finished like a 4-hour video on YouTube about C#. I knew already a little bit of C++, so it wasn't that bad for me. But now I'm looking into more of the asynchronization or async programming with C#, using C#, and also learning SQL. That way I can, work on the back end stuff and then try to see how those all connect to make a full stack developer. So looking into that. So I'm looking to make it, jotting down my journey on that, or recording my journey on that process. Not sure how those videos will look. Honestly, not really sure how these manga review videos are going to look either. This is all new to me, so bear with me. But for the manga, the first manga I want to get into is actually One Piece. And mainly it's because I know it's one of the big, beloved manga out there. Obviously at DreamCon I saw a hella One Piece cosplay. So obviously RDC is a big big One Piece fans. And honestly, I tried to watch the anime before a couple of times, but I would get to like episode 50-ish or so, and I couldn't stick with it. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is. I think it was because the animation style, honestly, and obviously it's an older anime. So I'm not trying not to judge on that, because I like Naruto. I can still go back and watch the OG Naruto, and that's a pretty old anime too. The problem is, I'm gonna use an analogy. How about this? I don't know if some of you guys played the Assassin's Creed series, but I got into Assassin's Creed with the Assassin's Creed 2. I think that was with Ezio, and had a blast, loved it, all the way up until I think Assassin's Creed Origins was the last Assassin's Creed that felt like the older ones, and I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. Because even in the Origins, they brung in some more RPG like elements. That was cool. The thing is that in those Assassin's Creed games, when you hit someone or you assassinate someone, it feels, I don't know what word to use, but I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but it feels like weighty. Like when you hit someone, it feels like you hit somebody, right? Whereas like once we moved on from Assassin's Creed Origin, I think it got into Odyssey. And I honestly enjoyed Odyssey. I might be one of the few ones that enjoyed it, but I really enjoyed Odyssey. But the attacking on there felt not weighty. It felt floaty. It felt like your character just floating around attacking, like, I don't know, like the strings of attacks. I don't know what it is. It just didn't feel meaty. It didn't feel heavy like the other Assassin's Creeds or even Assassin's Creed Origin. And that's kind of how I view when I was watching One Piece, at least those first 50 or so episodes. When Luffy went and punched somebody or kicked somebody or anything, it just didn't, I don't know, I didn't feel the impact. I don't know how to explain that anywhere else. I don't know if I'm making sense. But then there's like swords and there's guns that were on there too, but they didn't feel dangerous, so I think that was the reason why I couldn't get past the animation. I know that people say once you get to the Wano arc, whatever that means, the animation style gets better, obviously, and they've had more money and more time into it and stuff. But so I decided, why not start with the One Piece manga? Because obviously I know One Piece has its action, but a lot of people love it because of the storylines, its characters and stuff. So I was like, well, if I'm having problems, at least early on, watching the animations of it, maybe I can just read it and read the panels and see the artwork on it and appreciate it that way. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start my first manga video is gonna be on One Piece, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the coding adventure. Maybe down the line I'll get into some of my other ideals that I want to try out, like learning how to draw, maybe learning how to animate, learning how to use my programming for developing games, because I like gaming, maybe gaming in general, but we'll see. This is just the beginning of the journey, so I want to put this out there. Shout out to RDC, shout out to all the DreamCon and RDC and manga fan. Y'all are really what made this past weekend an enjoyment, because again, I was there for RDC obviously, but I wasn't there to meet them and stuff. I'm not that type of person. Like I wouldn't know what to say to go up to talk to him. I don't really know him like that in person, but it's cool. It was cool energy to be around, and I had a blast. And here's to the future of this channel. So peace.